Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And we today are continuing on our Disney ranking series that we've done every month for the last long time.
Long time.
But we're doing something different. Instead of doing 2009, which would be the next in the order that we had previously been doing, we decided to go back and we're going to do 1989. And then we're going to alternate from here forward doing a like 2009, and then we'll do a Renaissance year, and we'll go back and forth. And we just thought it would be fun to kind of shake it up and do something different.
It was a good call, Rach.
Yeah, I'm going to Rachel Wagner, and Stanford is here.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes. Yeah, I think that we needed a break from
I did too.
comms.
I was really burned out. Those movies.
Yes, so I think this was
This
a
was
good
so
plan.
refreshing.
Yes.
It was a great year to pick too.
And we ended up with 11 films from 1989. We ended up with 11 films from 1989, and some of these are your expected Disney films, but then the rest of them are from Touchstone.
Yeah,
and
this was like a real kind of heyday for Touchstone. You know, they were cranking out, I think, a lot of content under the Touchstone label.
And it seems like there is no sort of method to the madness of Touchstone. These are all over the place.
They are so all over the place. I agree.
I mean, that's how it typically was.
Well, yeah, I think so. You know, in the mid '80s, so in like the early years of the Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg era, there were some Bette Midler comedies that were kind of consistent. You know, I think she had a 6-picture contract, and
with Touchstone,
with Disney and they were Touchstone movies. You know, because they were all pretty adult, grown up in nature, and they were all like kind of crazy comedies, I think, with the exception of Beaches. But anyway,
okay.
Other than that, to me, it just seemed like I'm with you. There's these Touchstone movies all over the map. Also, like from a budgetary thing too, because some of them seem like pretty cheap to put together, which I know Jeffrey Katzenberg, adored, and then some of these other ones I think would be a little more expensive too. So that's interesting as well to kind of see the run the gamut of budget and style and different directors and
Now was Nightmare Before Christmas was that Touchstone?
I believe it was released initially as Touchstone.
Yeah,
they might now have branded it as Disney because it's just so integrated into everything. But yeah, when it first came out, it was a Touchstone.
Because
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because there was the impression that I had before kind of starting this project was that like, oh, if they couldn't get it clean enough for a Disney release, then they'd have to make it Touchstone. But that wasn't always the case.
No, I think that clearly that happened. But like I think an example of Dick Tracy, it came out in 1990. I think that was, as I recall, like the trailers were all like just branded as Disney, but it got released as Touchstone because I think it was a little too saucy, a little too violent. But
because most of these are rated.
They're Touchstone.
That we're talking about.
Yeah, intended to be Touchstone. Yep.
Except for Turner and Hooch, that would be the one,
right?
That is a PG or PG-13. I'm not sure, but yeah, I had a chance to watch or rewatch almost all of them. I did not rewatch Turner and Hooch because I just watched it last fall when I was covering the new show Turner and Hooch.
Oh yeah,
which was actually really fun. It's a shame it didn't get another season because it had a bunch of Hallmark actors in it, but I thought it was really fun and well done and charming, and it's too bad. It was a good show. You could tell that they overspent on it because the action was actually like pretty handsomely mounted. And I think McGee was the producer.
Oh, okay.
and you
Yeah.
could feel that kind of look and feel of him, his style, and I just think they overspend. It was not going to get the kind of bump for Disney Plus that they needed,
Hmm.
but it was actually a pretty good show, and one of our favorites, Paul Campbell, he was on the show, and Matt Hamilton, some of the other Hallmark
Oh,
actors
nice.
were on the show. So it's too bad. But anyway, I didn't rewatch that, and I didn't rewatch Dead Poet Society because it's just I'll talk about it when we talk about it, but it's very difficult for me to watch that movie now.
I've Dead Poet Society was also the only one that I didn't rewatch because I have watched it within the last year.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but I
Well,
but
just
I watched all the other ones, even though but many of them I hadn't seen ever.
yeah, me too. I mean, it's just hard for me to see Robin Williams in a plot about with
Yeah,
suicide. It's
yeah,
tough. It's tough
yeah.
for me. But anyway, we'll talk more about that. But there are 11 films that we are ranking today, and we'll put a list in the description. So if you want to put your own blog post or your own video if they're ranking them, we'd love that. And all of these are available on streaming. Most of the Touchstone I watched on Hoopla, and we've covered Hoopla a number of times on Hidden Gems. But they evidently have something with Touchstone because all these movies were all on Hoopla, which is a
And then
library app that's free, which is great.
the Disney branded ones uh, are on Disney Plus.
Right. Yes.
So
And then Dead Poet Society is the only one that's on Hulu.
right,
Yeah. And then the rest are either on Disney Plus or Hoopla. So,
very cool.
um, all right. Well, what is your number 11?
My number 11, it's kind of a tie, but I put as number 11 Disorganized Crime.
Yeah, same with me.
So this was such a terrible film, and I got to tell you, I found a quote somewhere. I was doing a little research on it. Uh, Jeffrey Katzenberg, like I think, well, and again, like my least favorite person, right, of
Yeah.
the time period. Um, he like the writer and director of this. I think his name is Jim Kof. I'm not sure saying his name right, but
Yeah.
uh, I think he and Katzenberg like had a bet, like that this director could bring in this movie for an incredibly low price. It was like for $5 million or something. I can't
Hmm.
remember the exact price, and it shows. and all, but I think it's a crime caper, right? Kind of like a team crime caper film. And I thought with the cast it might be interesting, and and it looked like there was maybe some promise. This stuff was going on with Corbin Burnson at the beginning and whatnot, and then it just falls apart into this profanity laced, big chunk of stupid. I thought. Well, what was your take
Yeah.
on it?
No, I agree. It just wasn't funny.
Yeah, so it wasn't funny.
Like, laughs will forgive all. Like,
Yeah,
we've talked about it before. I mean, there's movies like Talladega Nights, which I know is a stupid movie and
but
it
it's
is
so funny.
ridiculous, but I'm laughing.
Yep.
So I enjoy it the whole time. I'm laughing. This just was not funny. I
I
mean,
didn't laugh
how many
once. I
times
didn't
they
laugh once.
had these guys get covered in mud or manure
Yeah,
or, get wet, and it was just like, oh my gosh, not good. And it has a really strong cast.
this cast is actually kind of impressive, in a
Yeah, Lou
way.
Diamond Phillips,
Yeah,
Corbin Bernstein. It's got what's his name? William Russ from Boy Meets World. He's in
yeah.
there. That was
Fred
fun to see
Gwynn,
him.
Herman
Uh
Munster is in this
yeah,
movie.
right. And it's just not funny. I sat there, and it's not like it's trying to make a lot of jokes that I'm like, "Ooh, cringe, that's out of date." No. It's not even that. It's
No,
just not
it
funny.
just wasn't funny, and I didn't feel. I just didn't feel like it didn't come together too in a way.
No.
As far as like Corbin Burnsen's all of his kind of pain and suffering that he goes through. Anyway, the whole thing
Yeah.
just it did not. It was, yeah, rotten script. Uh, I thought terrible direction, and it's kind of a waste of all this talent. And again, here the guy, I don't know if he won the bet with Jeffrey Katzberg or not, but I think we all lost. This is a
We
bad
all
movie.
lost. We lost in doing this project, having to watch this movie.
That's right.
Well, okay. What do you have at number 10?
I have number 10, which it was really almost a tie for me. I have Cheetah.
Yeah, I have that at 9. So
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
I have An Innocent Man at
Yeah,
10.
see, and I have Innocent Man at 9, so rounds up our bottom 3.
I mean, I feel like An Innocent Man, it's Tom Selleck, and it is so generic.
Oh my god.
Every step of the way, it feels like I don't know, something you might see on TBS or TNT or
Yes,
something like that,
exactly.
stretched out to way too long. Um, I forget how long it is, but it felt really, really
Oh
long,
my
and uh, I didn't think any parts of it worked. The parts outside of jail weren't very good, and it felt like they were just like dying to use the F word as much as possible
Well, that's
to be
something that
like
was frustrating.
edgy.
Yeah, because again, they're thinking, well, this is a touchdown. Let's just, let's go for
Yeah.
broke. Let's go for broke. I think it set the record for the number of F words,
Yeah.
and and it's a frustrating. I thought it was just a frustrating story too. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It felt like a made for TV movie. Tom Selleck is this, happily married, law abiding, good dude who the cops go to the wrong house to do a drug bust, and they decide just to
Yeah.
plan the drugs and you know frame this guy.
Very, very generic. And
And then this poor, his long suffering wife is trying to get him out of jail and all this stuff. And anyway,
well, and F. Murray Abraham, like the parts in the jail were like marginally better than the
yeah,
parts outside of the jail.
F. Murray
But
Abraham he was the only character I liked in the
yeah,
movie.
it felt like though, I'm like, did he lose a bet or something? Like, why does he have to be in this
Why is
movie?
he in this terrible movie? Yeah,
But and his character just seemed like from a different movie.
it did. Yeah, and maybe that's
And
why I liked it because,
like all of a
yeah,
sudden
because yeah,
we're in like the Shawshank Redemption or something.
right, exactly. Because it's just yeah, and you
But
know, go ahead, please.
I know I do have to say that a lot of these action movies from the 80s just fall very flat for me. I was not a fan. For like Blind Spot, I watched Lethal Weapon. I did not like that.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's better than this, but I didn't like that. I didn't like Beverly Hills Cop. I thought that was just not funny and just not for me. I did not care for it. I don't know. I just feel like there's a number of like sort of quote unquote classic 80s action comedies that just, and this isn't a comedy, but action movies that really
yeah,
just fall flat for me, somebody who has no nostalgia for it. I mean, the Die Hard does hold up, I think, very well, but most of those other ones I just did not like.
yeah. I wasn't a big fan of Lethal Weapon either, and this one, uh, I think the combination of it was just a bad movie, but
Yeah.
also again just the terrible language and situations. I didn't see this in the theater, and that's probably why. I read a
Yeah.
review or just saw the R rating. Just thought, well, I think this one I'm going to pass because I just not sure that there was enough merit to it.
Yeah, and you can have a movie that has a lot of profanity that it feels authentic to the characters
Right.
and it
And to the
you're in.
situation and part of the dialogue. Well, I just felt like they were
Yeah.
just adding it just to add it.
Like Goodfellas, for instance, has tons of profanity, but it does feel like authentic to
But
those
it, yeah,
characters.
so yeah, I don't mind it as much.
That I
Which
think
I guess
those.
that's sad. It's sad to admit, but
Yeah, no, I think that's true, that it is authentic to those mob guys that they're gonna talk like that. And so
yeah,
it immerses you a little bit more. Whereas this just felt like, would this nice guy from the suburbs be, you know, MFing all the time? I don't think
right,
so. I don't know.
right. Not to mention
Well,
what he has to do in prison too,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Ugh. We
So,
won't go there. Well, don't watch
yeah,
this movie, people.
right. Well, so Cheetah that you have at 10, I do know that I was talking to people on Twitter. Our friend Jennifer Chandler, she watched this a lot growing up. So there are people that have a lot of nostalgia
Some
for this
nostalgia,
movie.
yeah.
This is the first time I had seen it.
This is the second time I had seen it. I watched it I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was talking about this, Rachel. Leonard Maltin used to program a night of Disney movies on a quarterly basis on Turner Classic Movies, and this was one of them. So I watched it in that context. I think the theme actually was animal movies on that one, and
Okay.
so they showed like the incredible journey, and
Hmm.
and this one, which was new to me then. I got halfway through it, and that's when I realized, oh, I think I've seen this before, and I didn't like it the first time because I had forgotten it. And then I came back to me like, oh, yeah. Anyway, I think it's a pretty lousy film. What didn't you like about it?
Well, I mean, the one thing that I was kind of excited about was the cinematography and the animals and everything like that,
Yeah, it was
especially something
filmed
from,
in Africa, right?
yeah, but
Supposedly
so much of it was obvious stock footage
stock
that it just
footage.
made the whole thing feel cheap.
Yeah, it did.
And the acting was poor. I think it felt like a low rent decom to me. This did.
Yeah, likewise. And it's these two. It's a brother and a sister. They're there with their parents who were scientists, right, or doing research or
Yeah.
whatnot, and and then they befriend a young boy from a nearby tribe. But I like their adventure never seemed credible to me. Again, it was just not that it would have to be all real, but just that they're able to do what they do. I don't know. That drove me
I mean, it was
crazy as well.
surprising because Disney has such a reputation of making movies with animals that they feel real and not using just the stock footage and other things like
Yeah,
that. So I was surprised that this wasn't better made.
yeah,
And I was kind of hoping it would be like a hidden gem because I'd heard about it, but it was just one of those ones I hadn't seen. I mean, if you think of something like White Fang, for instance, with the
right.
wolves, like looks incredible, looks really
Yeah,
good. But
and a really compelling story.
yeah,
Very dramatic, and yeah. Where this one, I was just bored out of my
yeah,
mind.
yeah, it's pretty dry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it made 9 for me. And so what do you have at 8?
At 8, I have Tuner and Hooch.
Oh, interesting. I
I
have
hate.
a bit higher.
You have a little higher. I hate this
Uh-huh.
movie, and I saw it. I saw it. When it came out. I think for me, it's one of those where tonally, I think it's pretty uneven. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, don't get me wrong. Tom Hanks is good. Tom Hanks is good. He's a good actor, of course. And he's not terrible in the role by any means. And the stuff with the dog is the physical comedy and stuff with this destructive dog is funny. But then I think again, as I was saying, tonally I feel like it's really uneven because the crime stuff's pretty heavy, and then the dog dies,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what the heck, you know? And
Yeah.
I know he gets a
True.
puppy at the end, but it still doesn't. To me, it didn't make it any better. It's like,
Yeah.
you've got to be kidding me, you know? So that's I not my movie.
Yeah. Maybe I should have rewatched it for this because it had been since last fall, but yeah, I mean it's pretty standard
It's true.
man and
It's not.
dog.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's sort of a grand tradition of man and dog,
Yes.
movies. This one has like a little bit more of a comedic tone, but I agree it is somewhat uneven. The I mean, making me think of something like Old Yeller or Sounder or
Uh-huh.
sort of these
That's a
these
good point. And then in
shaggy
those movies
dog.
where the dog dies too, and
Yeah.
it's sad, and at least they went out on a kind of a bit of a happier
Mhm.
note. But I don't know, it felt like such a buddy comedy to me in this
Yeah,
one, that it was, but it was, in this case, a man with his dog
I
dog.
could see that. Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. I had Three Fugitives at 8 for
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen this before. I kind of wish that they had done a little bit better job of kind of establishing Martin Short's character, because he's just
Exactly.
presented as this crazy man from the outset, and robbing this bank, and then uh, they've got this fugitive Nick Nolte. Well, he's just gotten out of prison. He's like, please pick someone else, and there were some funny parts with Martin Short and just being so crazy, and it was fun to see James Earl Jones in this. He was good, but I don't know. I just got a little tired of it after a while. I got tired of his antics, and I got tired of just running around chasing, and I started to get kind of disengaged, I guess, and started doing other things and stuff
Yeah.
because I just was not that interested in the
Yeah.
story.
I have it a little higher. I have it at 6. We'll can
Okay.
get there, but I agree with all that you're saying. The reason I put it a little higher, well, because the set number 7 film is one of the reasons, but also
Hmm.
I thought I felt. I mean, there was some stuff I liked about it, and I honestly felt like it was a missed opportunity. It could have been a much better film. I agree with a
Yeah.
little more. And I hate to be prescriptive, but I think a little more explanation about Martin Short's character at the
Yeah.
beginning, and then um, the little girl was adorable,
Yeah.
and I thought that. I mean, Martin Short, when he's on his A game, he's so funny. I mean, he's so good, but also I think he's just a good actor too, and
Yeah.
it could have been a really good role for him. Instead, it just turned out that this guy was, I mean, doing the best he could for in a hard situation, but he didn't. I didn't think they really portrayed him as like that likable, either. I
Yeah.
guess again fault it to on the
Well, and you
script,
just wanted him to like take a second and listen. He was
right?
just the Nick Nolte character tried to
Frustrating.
tell him, "Don't do this.
Yeah,
Don't behave this way," and he just wasn't stopping for a second to listen.
yeah. I liked to being able to see Nick Nolte just kind of wanted to feel like he had his wits and his physical capabilities about him, because I thought he handled the physical comedy or just the physicality of it as well as the acting in a pretty good way.
Yeah.
And again, the little girl is super cute. I just thought, oh, too bad. And that I don't know. I could just nitpick the script to death. Really, really blame the script on what could have been
Uh-huh.
actually a
This is a
pretty,
good era for Nick Nolte.
yeah,
I mean, he had, 48 Hours movies. He had
right,
The Player. He was in that. I love that movie, The Player.
yep,
That's 1992.
yeah,
But yeah, there were a lot of good films. But and we have another one coming up. So what
yes.
did you have at 8?
So at 8, I have Blaze.
Okay, yeah, I have that at 6.
Uh, yeah, okay. So we just kind of swapped on that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I I thought Paul Newman gave a very good performance actually in this film, but I really hated this movie too. These despicable characters and these situations that were super
Yeah,
frustrating to me, and I. Uh, we got to see a lot of Lolita Davidovich, and it was like, wow, I think it's a little too much. But anyway,
yeah. Well, I mean, she's playing a stripper, so yeah,
right.
you're gonna
So I
get.
mean, yeah, and then again, it's Touchstone and it's R-rated, so they're like, we're going for it,
Mhm.
So I can't
I
criticize them
actually
for that.
thought both of them were pretty good acting. in the movie, and when they had like quieter moments together,
Yeah, that's
or
true. Good point.
they had some good, moments together, but the story just wasn't that interesting.
Yeah,
And yeah, and
it
the
wasn't that
sensuality,
interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I just felt like so often the sensuality was only there to sort of titillate the viewer as opposed to be like something meaningful in the story and in their
Right,
romance.
right.
And so, yeah, I mean, and also, it takes a long time for Paul Newman to appear.
Yeah,
It's sort of her
it's
backstory
her backstory for
for,
for the first act.
yeah, for the first 30 minutes at least.
Yeah,
And her sort of introduction to being a dancer felt very weird to me. That like she goes to this army thing, military thing, and she's like, she thinks she's going to be playing for them, and it turns out she's actually supposed to be dancing and stripping for them. And it felt very weird to me. Like, this is something the movie wants us to like kind of be proud of her for, but she's being exploited like terribly.
yeah.
And I
I
don't know,
was
it was just
confused
weird. It was
about
a
that.
weird moment, I thought.
Yeah, I was really
And
confused by that too.
yeah, and this is supposed to start her on the path of being this kind of empowered
Yeah, this
woman. I mean, there's
empowered,
nothing.
sassy,
Yeah, I mean,
independent.
they say in if you want to get an Oscar, play a prostitute in a movie for women. It's
Yeah,
true, but
exactly.
and in this case, it didn't feel like sort of an empowered choice. It was felt like something she just kind of stumbled into that she did. And I don't know, they could have done more to kind of develop her character. But I did think that the performances were were strong for both
Hmm.
of the leads. But yeah, I never watch it again.
Yeah, I hope I never watch it. And I missed it in theaters too. But frankly, Rachel, I don't even remember hearing about this one.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe maybe it showed up in like a limited release or something, or I just didn't have my
Hmm.
head in the game, uh, or
Well,
what, or just because of the R rating, I maybe stayed away
yeah.
from it too.
Well, some great person has uploaded onto YouTube all of the Siskel and Ebert episodes from 1989, and so I went back and watched their reviews
Nice,
of all these movies.
outstanding.
Yeah, and they didn't give they were give thumbs down on plays,
How did they?
although Roger was kind of kinder to it than
Than
Gene.
Gene was.
Yeah, and neither of them liked Three Fugitives or An Innocent Man or Disorganized Crime. I didn't actually watch one on Cheetah, but so
That's great.
yeah, what did you have at 7?
Okay, so at 7, I have got, so 7 was Blaze, and 6 was Three Fugitives for me, and you were the other way around, right? You had
Yeah,
Blaze and
8 was
6.
Three Fugitives, and then
Oh,
at 7 I have New York Stories.
okay. I have New York Stories at 5.
Okay. So New York Stories for me, I like the idea of it better than the actual execution. I like the idea of having these three very famous directors all doing a short about New York. That sounds fun. And
Yeah.
there were fun moments. I probably liked uh Coppola's the best. I think, I mean, Roger and Gene, they liked Scorsese's the best.
Oh,
But
interesting.
in
Okay.
my opinion, that got old real fast, and I was very just tired of him being a bully. And there were some nice moments with him painting, I mean, with the music and
Yeah.
kind of capturing that. But everything with the relationship, I could have cared less about. I did not. I just didn't like, again, kind of him bullying his way into this relationship. I didn't think they had any chemistry at all. And uh, I don't know, just not my favorite. I felt like he was too violent with her for me to be empathetic with him. And then the second one is just like cute and fun. This relationship between with this little girl and her friendship with her butler. in New York City, and I thought it was cute. And then the third one, Woody Allen, it had its moments. It was too long. I got tired of it.
Hmm.
But basically, this neurotic Woody Allen type, played by Woody Allen, that he sees his mother passes away, and then he sees his mother in the sky talking to him because she doesn't like who he's dating. there's some humor in that. There's some fun to be had, but it went on way too long, I thought. Anyway, I didn't love any of the shorts, but I liked the idea of the shorts, and they all had their moments, if that makes sense.
No, I that makes total sense, and I agree with you. Uh, I was trying to or rank the shorts, and it was hard because I wasn't just crazy about any of them.
Yeah.
I think I probably did like the Martin Scorsese one, maybe just a little bit more. But I agree with you. The characters were despicable. In a way, I thought both of them kind of were. You know,
Yeah.
in a way, maybe not despicable is too strong, but they're both so narcissistic. But I'm also thinking, well, maybe this is a kind of this could be a portrayal of some artists who choose to
Mhm.
live this way, right? But I thought it was interesting too how the Nick Nolte character, we see him probably just repeating it, but it's just a pattern for him. You know how he finally he meets that other young girl at the end, a
Yeah,
younger girl, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, this is just how he's gonna live out his
which is
life.
kinda skeevy when you think about it.
Oh,
You
absolutely, no,
Yeah,
it is. So
yeah,
but I thought the direction and the cinematography in that one was particularly good, just because the
yeah,
way, as you mentioned, with the painting, and often the way the characters were framed within the. Um, I think they look like they filmed it in actual buildings, maybe where they were sets, but just like within the architecture and whatnot. I thought that there was a lot I liked about it.
mhm,
And I agree with you. In fact, what surprised me about Francis Ford Coppola's one is just how breezy it was.
yeah,
You know, just fun and breezy. And I'm with you on Woody Allen's. It was like a one joke movie that just went on way too long.
yeah,
But some of the lines I did laugh on, not all the lines, but some of them. Uh, just because that relationship we had with, and plus
yeah,
the title Oedipus Rex. I mean, that was funny. I thought that was fun.
yeah. Do you have a favorite Woody Allen? You think
Yeah,
is his
Annie
best?
Hall
Yeah.
is my
I mean,
favorite.
Annie Hall's really good. I I think Midnight in Paris is still actually my favorite, though.
Oh, that's so charming. I
So
love,
good.
yeah,
And I
that's
like
so
the
good.
thought experiment of it, of what
Yeah,
that we idolize the past, and then he goes back there, and Marion Cotillard is doing the exact same thing with the previous generation as he had done with them, and
yeah,
I think it's really good.
yeah. I agree
Uh,
with you. Really good.
so I have Blaze at 6. What did you have at 6?
Three Fugitives.
Okay, okay. And then I have Turner and Hooch at 5.
Okay.
Yeah, which thought it was just like a pretty fun man and dog movie. But you're right, it does have those kind of swings in tone. That's true.
Well, and I haven't watched the Disney Plus series, but I'm curious about it now, so maybe I'll
Yeah.
have to check it out.
I mean, it's kind of a bummer because it ends on a cliffhanger and it didn't get
Oh, and
renewed.
it's not
So,
gonna. Yeah, and then we'll
but
never know.
yeah, but I particularly there's an episode that I forget what they call it, but there's an episode that kind of has a Die Hard esque plot with a little girl that he has to protect. There's like a bomb in the building, and it's very Die Hardy, and they even have Reginald Johnson on in that show. Who's on Die Hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
I think that's his name, right? Yeah,
That's
the
fun.
cop. The
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so what do you have at 5?
At five, I have New York Stories.
Okay. Yeah, so we're pretty close, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty close.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Yeah, clearly we've got the same top four. We'll
Yeah.
see what order.
That would be interesting if it is the same. I wouldn't be surprised. So at number 4, I have Gross Anatomy.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, I think we do have the same then. Yeah, this was the hidden gem, I think, of the pack of the group. Certainly
Oh, no question about it. Yeah.
Mhm. I actually debated, do I want to put this ahead of Dead Poets Society? Um, but Gross Anatomy is about these doctors that are, these students becoming doctors, going to medical school, the first year of medical school. And I thought it captured that really well. And I thought the script was very well done. And Matthew Modine, who knew he was such a hunk? He's really good in this. I thought. Very charming.
That's not why I picked it. but he was good in the role, as far as I'm concerned. It's just a good supporting cast, you know?
It's a good script, a good cast. I like the fact that they didn't villainize anybody for their choices, like the woman who has a child and then gets pregnant within the year. She's not really treated badly by the script, or treated as like a not feminist or something you might see sometimes that kind of written in that way. She's a great, she's a really interesting character, and she's made her choices, and you just see like the stress and the pressure that is on these students. And I thought that Daphne Zuniga did a really good job.
I did too.
She's really good in this era. She
really
was
good.
Good leading lady, and the pressure that's on her. She doesn't want to get distracted with this relationship. I liked Christine Lottie as their doctor professor. I thought she did a great job. And it was just a really solid movie. I think that they could do a really interesting reboot of this, and I think it could make a really good series.
It would make
if they
a
wanted.
good series. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because these characters were very interesting, and I thought the relationships were well portrayed. And I kept expecting it to get. I mean, it's serious, and there's some sad stuff that happens, but I just like the tone.
Yeah, it really avoids the sappiness.
Yes.
And every turn where it could have taken like a sappy turn.
Yeah, sappy maudlin turn, and it doesn't do it.
Yeah, and it really focuses on the pressure that's on these students.
Well, and when it started too, I'm like, oh, great. I mean, we'll go in by the title. You know that it's going to be something, about, a medical thing, or most likely medical school. Well, yeah, I thought it was actually a fresh take on the medical school experience, just how intense that is. But again, none of it also seemed necessarily predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed this movie. Very compelling. I thought it was going to be a real bore, and I was very interested the whole time.
Yeah. So what do you have, a 3?
I have Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, same. We have the same. Like I said, it's hard for me to watch this movie now. It's just tough with Robin Williams being the inspirational teacher and the student who commits suicide. It's hard now for me to watch it, because he committed suicide, of course.
Yeah.
In real life, that's tough. It is a very manipulative movie. I know some people who really dislike it, including Roger Ebert. Actually, he hated it. But I know a lot of people actually that don't like it, that feel like it's too emotionally manipulative.
Interesting.
But I like it, and maybe part of it is that I bonded with it at a really young age. This is a
Yeah.
movie that I remember watching in high school and just bawling my eyes out. And I remember watching it quite a few times in college randomly. I don't know why. And I had this one friend who was the worst to watch movies with because she would always ask questions during the movie, and uh, and so because sometimes you just have to sort of let the movie play out,
You have
and
to
those
let it
questions will
be.
be
Yeah.
answered,
And you're like,
right?
we'll talk. Yeah. And like, oh, we'll talk after,
Yeah,
you
but she would be like, "Why is he going in that room? What's he going? What is he reaching for?" You're just like, "Oh my gosh, stop! Why is he running out into the snow?"
know? Like,
And
sit
I
there.
remember watching this movie with her. She was making me crazy. I'm like, just watch the movie. But I mean, it's just so memorable. Captain, my captain.
Oh, it's so memorable, so moving. It's just it's a beautiful film,
Hmm.
really poignant film. And yeah, I'm with you. The Robin Williams stuff is sad, and that was bittersweet to when I rewatched it.
Yeah,
Realizing that. But I also felt grateful uh, that they were able to capture that performance of
yeah,
him on
that's true.
on film, because it's such a good performance, and just
Yeah,
so it showed his range.
yeah,
I think it seems to me that was one of the earlier dramas that he was in that really showed what he was capable of as an actor.
yeah.
Yeah,
And Ethan Hawke is really great in it.
yeah,
Young Ethan Hawke, young Robert Sean Leonard.
yes. Robert Sean Leonard is really
Mhm.
a standout in it too. Yeah,
And I think maybe the reason why I gravitate towards it is that I've always been a big mentor person. I've always been somebody who really gravitated to charismatic teachers, whether it was church or at school. Uh, uh, going to college, Dr. Matt Holland was my mentor. I actually worked for him for a while as a TA. I took any class that he offered, and I just really admired him and fed off of his energy a lot, and it really encouraged me to be better. And I've just always been a person that really responded to sort of that environment of mentors and inspirational teachers and things like that. So it's an easy button to push when it comes to me. And I mean, the parents are completely one note and kind of monsters, portrayed as monsters. And they, but I don't know. To me, that's works for this type of
it
narrative, I
works for.
think.
I thought it worked for this type of movie too.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
and
was I was an English major in college, so of course
uh,
this just I just eat up all this stuff.
yeah.
I love it, love it.
The what I forget the name of the poem that they he has them rip up at the beginning, the essay.
Right? Which
Oh,
one
it's
is
so good.
that?
Rip it up, rip it out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do you have at number two?
So at number two, I have Honey, I Shrunk the
Yeah, me
Kids.
too. Yes, I just rewatched it today.
Oh, nice.
Shrunk the
Okay,
Kid.
yeah, I watched it last week again for
Hmm.
first time in quite a while, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. But yeah, but
Yeah.
anyway, still, it was so much fun to revisit this movie.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it held up so well. I
Me too.
found it so charming and funny and exciting,
Yeah,
and I just even the music I really liked. I loved all the pretty much all the performances. The only thing that doesn't really work, I think, in a modern setting is the neighbor not Selinsky, that's the Rick Moranis, the neighbor dad. He's a little too mean, I think, for this kind of movie. And
yeah,
I don't know. He's just a little more volatile than is needed for a
yeah.
sweet family
For
film.
this type of a film, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
yeah, I
sure if
agree.
they were going to remake it, which I'm sure they will and are, that they would remove that, and they certainly would not have him be smoking anymore. That's for sure.
Well, that's for sure. What really struck me on this watching, because again, it's been a while, just the amount of practical effects and
Yeah.
also the stop motion animation and all just the cool filmmaking techniques that Joe Johnston employed to make this movie. It's really impressive, because
Yeah.
this, of course, today would be done with CGI, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because the tools are amazing. But there was just something I thought extra special about this movie with the really cool practical effects and
Hmm.
everything
Yeah,
around
because
it.
even the ones that feel sort of hokey, you can see the green screen stuff like that, like when they're flying on the bee.
Yeah,
There's kind of a charm in that.
I was just say exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. It just for me, it just added to the charm rather than like, oh, this is so fakey. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing's fakey, but that's what's so fun about it.
I agree. I thought it held up extremely well. I mean, I do have big nostalgia for it, and I even have nostalgia for the ride at Disneyland, the Honey I Shrunk
Oh,
the
the movie,
Audience.
Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that was Disneyland, I
That
believe.
was
Yeah.
just, yeah, Disney. Yeah, they
Yeah.
had there in Tomorrowland. It was there in that Magic Eye Theater. Yeah,
Because I know
so
that
fun.
they had a in MGM Studios, they had a Honey I Shrunk the Kids
They had
play
a
area.
Playland,
Really?
and I never went into the Playland, but there was a little like a food place right by it. So I remember just looking in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cool. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
They recreated some of just the giant leaves of grass and you know,
Mm-hmm.
the ant, and I can't remember the ant's name. They named it,
Mm-hmm.
and just stuff that the kids, like turn it into slides and things that kids could
Yeah.
play on. And it's super. I thought it was super fun. I mean, just very clever
Mm-hmm.
looking. And I think that movie played to be being Mr. Disney theme park nerd. It was at Epcot they had a 3D theater in Epcot where Captain EO played, and then
Mm-hmm.
they put in this Honey I Shrunk the Audience there. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
cool.
And I do feel like their size kind of changes a little bit throughout the movie.
Oh, of
Like
course it
at certain
does.
points, they're like the size of his nose, and then other points they're the size of a Cheerio. So it kind of changes a little bit, but it works.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
care.
not consistent, but yeah, or like almost like the size of a pinpoint. I mean, they're
Hmm.
just but it's
It's
what
just
a
charming. It's a charming
it's
movie. I
charming.
really enjoyed all the action. I enjoyed
I
the
did
sibling
too.
dynamics in it. Felt pretty
Yeah,
real. Um, the um, I thought all the kid actors were all good. The girl looks too old for the part, but she still was good. And Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a really well written script, fun idea, well executed. It's one of those nostalgia movies that I think holds up pretty well, and I think that some of those, like even something that I still enjoy, but something like The Goonies, I don't. It There are parts of it that feel old, aged, out of
yeah.
date. Whereas this, I didn't have really much of that experience. Wasn't cringing hardly at all.
No, I didn't. I didn't cringe at all either. Frankly, I was expecting to,
Yeah, me too. Me too.
and then it was just a lot. It was just
Yeah.
and in a lot of ways, even though as we're talking about the effects were cheesy, I also felt it was movie magic.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Really fun watch.
Hmm.
So happy to rewatch it.
Well, our number one, of course, it's
Of
one of my favorite
course.
movies of all time. It's The Little Mermaid is our number one, and this is just such a special film. It was so fun to rewatch it today.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, I rewatched it too. I mean, I had seen it not too long ago. But I'm
yeah,
rewatching this movie. I love this movie so much.
it's so good. I mean, and uh, every down to the littlest detail. I mean, people probably get tired of me talking about the 1 million bubbles, but it really is incredible. Every time she moves underwater, there's bubbles,
Yeah.
and sometimes lots and lots that fill up the whole screen. Like in Under the
Yeah.
Sea, there's a lot of scenes where just bubbles everywhere, and it just adds to that experience of the film. And the Menken Ashman songs are so great, and Ursula is so great, and I love Ariel. I think she's spunky in a way that I enjoy, and I love the fact that it's so random. You know, the fact that they got like a French chef and a British Grimsby is British, and then you have a Jamaican crab and and you have a New York seagull or whatever he
Yeah,
is.
whatever Scuttle is,
Yes,
Buddy Hackett.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just think that makes it fun. It makes it unexpected and surprising and unpredictable. I love when Jodie Benson gets to voice Vanessa
yeah,
and with the evil side. That's really
yeah.
fun.
That's great.
And I mean, I love the animation. It's so wonderful. One of the best.
It's one of the best, and uh it's just again pure delight watching this movie. I love everything about it. One of the things I don't know, that just really stood out to me this time, and it has in the past too, because I've seen this movie countless times, but uh just admiring the animation. Well, admiring the animation. What a great story! What a wonderful job they did with the storytelling in this. How Ursula, it gets revealed in sections,
Mm-hmm.
and just the dynamics between Ariel and her dad, and then Sebastian and Flounder. I mean, even that opening sequence, uh, with Ariel and Flounder, looking for
Ugh.
stuff when she misses the concert. That's so fun. There's the
Well,
shark chase, and
yeah, and even
um,
before that, with Mysterious Fathoms Below, it's such
yeah,
a
oh yeah,
great introduction. It
it's a
draws you
fantastic
in.
setup. Yeah,
Yeah.
just
It's
with
Mysterious Fathoms Below.
and yeah, with this Eric and Grimsby on the ship, and yeah, it's I admire the story work so much on this film. But regarding the animation, one thing that was really standing out to me was how, of course, they just take full advantage of the medium. Like
Mhm.
specific, like one thing that really, uh, like when Triton is blowing up Ariel's grotto.
Yes.
You know how the lighting, I mean, the
Oh,
color really changes. I mean, it just adds so much to the drama and just the tragedy of that
yeah.
scene.
I'm
And
going to get
then,
through to you, Ariel.
oh
Just
my gosh, and it's so heartbreaking. But I love it how it's all red and black,
yeah.
and there's just like a million bubbles everywhere. And then when Ariel is signing the contract with Ursula, how Ursula just, her madness really just starts shining, and then like it's green, kind of that
Yeah.
funky lime green, or what, I don't know necessarily what you'd call that color, and
Mhm.
Ursula's eyes are
Oh,
going bonkers. I just love that, and it made me think again. That's why I love these animated films so much, because there's so much artistry in it.
mhm. Well,
And
like and
I
I said
literally,
about the million bubbles.
yeah,
Every time a character moves, there's bubbles, which makes it
yeah,
feel like you're under the water. And that was something that I had mentioned this in another podcast, but that Aquaman was a movie that looked really cool, but it didn't feel under the water to me.
no,
It
me
didn't
neither.
feel immersed to me. It was pretty, but I think missing those bubbles is what you need. But I also love the ending. I think it's awesome. I think that Eric ends up being one of the best princes. So he's like, I'm not gonna lose her again, and he rams the ship into Ursula. I mean, that is an awesome moment.
It is so epic. And again, just taking advantage of the medium. One of the things that I'm really so I hate to even bring it up, Rachel, but I feel like it's important. It's important, at least for me. So you're nice to listen.
Hmm.
But the I instantly thought of today, of that horrible 2019 CGI remake of The Lion King.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And that's one of the many reasons I hated that movie, was because, The Lion King, it was animated, and they could go all these, I
yeah.
can't wait to be king sequences, all this call this color, that be prepared sequence,
Hmm.
that's so stylized, and the incredible uh use of shadows, and again all these kind of surreal colors of that of that sequence, and the squash and stretch, the characters, and all this stuff. And then you can't replicate it when it's just these
Yeah.
CGI models that look real, but they're not. You
Yeah.
can't like go all kooky with the lighting, or they didn't, and I guess was an okay decision, but that takes out all of the artistry, in my
Yeah. I
opinion.
mean, that's
And
my only hope for this remake that they're doing, new
yes,
adaptation, is that it seems like they are doing their own spin on it with the casting and with some other things I've heard. Uh, there's a Broadway musical called Once on This Island, which is basically
yeah,
the Little Mermaid story, but with like a Caribbean kind of
yes.
flair to it. And
I've never seen the
it's
show, but I've heard of it. And
yeah.
people have just told me about it. Yeah,
And if they were gonna kind of go in that direction with using some of the songs, I think that could be interesting. I'm hopeful because I know how big a fan Lin Manuel is of the
right.
original,
Of the original.
that
Yeah,
he will help kind of guide the ship and make it tolerable. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Broadway musical of The Little Mermaid. I didn't love it, especially the making Ursula and Triton siblings. That was really stupid, I thought. Um, so I hope they don't do that.
yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, I do think out of the Disney, the cheapquels, the two Little Mermaid cheapquels are watchable. They're not like great.
Okay. I've never.
I
I
mean,
refuse to watch them, so I've never
the
seen them.
the Little Mermaid 2 Return to the Sea is basically the exact same story but flipped, where her daughter Melody wants to
All
become a
right.
mermaid.
Okay.
So, and she ends up meeting Ursula's sister. I forget her name. Anyway, and then the second one is actually a prequel, and it's kind of basically like Footloose in the ocean. and so, and
No
so, because
dancing. No singing.
yes, basically, so Triton, his wife has passed away,
Oh,
and he's like bitter about it, and he doesn't want to be reminded of her singing, and so he's like banned music in the sea. I forget what it's called where he rules
Atlantica.
Atlantica. So he's banned music and dancing, and so Sebastian has this like secret underground like salsa club that that
Nice.
that Ariel finds out about, and of course they end up kind of convincing Triton in the end to embrace music again, and it's watchable. I forget the who the villain is in that one. It's just like some lady who wants power or whatever. I can't remember, but it's watchable. It's not great, but it's better than others, I
Better than
guess.
other sequels. Well, and I'm with you. I'm hopeful that this new live action CGI version is going to
hmm
be a delightful interpretation.
Yeah.
We'll because love Lin Manuel Miranda, and of course Alan Menken, and we'll just see what they do. But I sure am. I mean, I just am so happy we've got these animated
hmm
films that again I just think use the medium in such a
Yeah.
magnificent way.
Yeah,
You
and there
know,
was such an attention to detail, like I said, with the bubbles, but also I love the fact that you have Ariel when she gets up to the land. It's not really just about Eric that she's excited about. If she was, because people always, criticize, oh, she gives up her fins for a man, and that's just not true. I mean, she wanted to go to land before she even met him when
she's
she's saying
right.
part of your
She's
world.
fascinated with the whole thing.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't build that whole grotto full of stuff if it's just this like passing whim for a man.
right. For Eric, that she had
Um,
just barely met.
yeah, and when she's up there, she kind of ignores him a lot of the time. Maybe she's taking the reins and driving
So
the
involved with all this
things.
other stuff.
Yeah, they're like dancing and doing the puppet shows and stuff like. And her enthusiasm and her excitement is just very endearing. And it did. Little Mermaid was one of my favorite episodes of Talking Disney that we did, where you had my friend Alyssa on, and we talked about the green dress You remember that?
Oh yeah.
That was a really funny moment, I thought, because that's something that's always bothered me. I'm like, why is she in this green dress in the Disney Princess lineup, and she's never in that in the movie? And, and Alyssa was like, I wondered that my whole life. So I'll put a link down if people want to listen. But I really loved that episode. I thought it was really fun, and I just love this movie. I think
I do too.
it's so good. So there we go. We did it. This
Yay.
was a lot of fun. These are the kind of rankings that I like to do because to me it's boring to do a ranking of like rank all the DC movies because they're like they're kind of the same. I feel about the same almost all of them. So it's or even the Star Wars, like to me it's more interesting to rank things that are like different than to rank things that are very similar. I don't
Well,
know.
exactly, and I really enjoyed the fact of just being able to see movies that were new to me.
Yeah.
This in this round too, because there's clearly, and these other ones there's been lots of new movies too, but
Mm-hmm.
this was really
Fun.
great, and then just to be able to see gross anatomy was kind of the added the added bonus.
Yeah.
That there was even a really good one in
There
the
was a hidden
mix.
gem. There was a
Yeah,
real
yeah,
hidden gem. It was
yeah,
really
for
good.
sure.
So
And then to be able to talk about and honor the Little Mermaid, hello,
yeah,
awesome.
so fun. Well, let us know what you think. Have you seen any of these Touchstone films that we talked about? I'd love to hear your thoughts if you're listening. And Stanford, where can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And you can check out our playlist of all of the Disney rankings that we've done. They're a lot of fun. And make sure that you're following if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which has really fun behind the scenes Q&As and watch-alongs and other things. I'm doing the AFI 100 Passions project where I'm reviewing for the patrons only, reviewing the AFI 100 Passions list. So that's really fun. So it's definitely worth your time to sign up for the Patreon. And then we also have the merch store, which has #AnimationJunkie shirts. So please take a look at that. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.